later on editorially with an audio edit. And so they were impressing the kids, you gotta be totally quiet, no noise whatsoever, just totally silent, absolutely silent. And there were like 30 kids in there. We were fixing to do this drumming circle. And everybody's sitting there perfectly still. And this one kid farted on that wooden floor. And man, it just reverberated. It was just a beautiful, quintessential, perfect fart, right? And then everybody just erupts. It was totally cool.
On a wooden floor, too.
Yeah, exactly. In a totally, absolutely silent room. Oh, that's interesting. Sanibel Sea School is an institution that is to help people realize their potential in the presence of the ocean. We started Sanibel Sea School as an institution that was to protect the ocean. But we've come to realize that protecting the ocean is a lot bigger than just protecting the ocean. In many ways, what we're doing is we're saving the humans. And we're not necessarily saving us from pestilence and terrible events. We're saving humans by allowing them to enhance their lives in the presence of the ocean. In the smallest, most concise answer, Sanibel Sea School is an institution whose mission is to save the ocean one person at a time. There are a lot of ways to save the ocean. Ours is to allow people to fall in love with the ocean so that they will be better stewards later in life. And there are a lot of ways to fall in love with the ocean. Ours is through discovery, intellectual discovery. What can we go out into the ocean and discover today? Either that's new to us or that's new to science in general. Sanibel Sea School thrives, and we're very proud on the fact that we're a sandy buckets and smelly fish institution. We encourage kids to go barefoot. We want to be able to create a very deep bonding experience. We want it to be highly textured. We want it to be great and fun. Kids' lives are totally scrubbed for the most part. And they understand the outcome of almost everything they're going to do. There is no more mystery and adventure. And a lot of our job is to help them find that mystery and adventure. My job title is I'm the executive director of Sanibel Sea School, and my job is to hire good people and let them impart their love and wisdom of the ocean. It started that I was the teacher, and we've come to the realization that we can better affect our goal if I back up and I train other people to be good teachers. In many ways, we as teachers are storytellers, and I love to tell stories about the ocean, and I do it at every conceivable chance I get. But right now, my job is to look at the long-term survivability. We'll back up again. My job is to create a sustainable Sanibel Sea School. My job is to ensure that 20 years from now, on one given day of the year, we stop what we're doing and we have something called Founders Day. And there's some old dusty picture of an old couple somewhere in the back of one of the buildings, and everybody goes by and goes, yeah, that's Doc Bruce and Miss Evelyn. They founded this place, but nobody's ever seen them before. And so it's really my job to take something that has its own legs and allow it the pathway, to create the pathway so that it can go 20 years down the road and continue to enrich people's lives. I think most of our staff here would tell you their biggest job is working around me. How do they figure out how to do this? Evelyn and I have an interesting role. She comes up with the most audacious, wonderful, rich, educational opportunities, and my job is to make these crazy things happen. And in many ways, you can't pass that on to a new teacher because it's too crazy. It's too wild. It's too bizarre to say build a ship out of recycled plastic bottles that will float 10 people. If you hand that to a young educator, it's too much. But you can hand it to me and I'm crazy enough and stupid enough that I do it. So in many ways, my job now is the sustainability of Sanibel Sea School for the long haul.
Okay. And how do you plan on doing that?
Right now, we are engaged in a sustainability campaign. We have recognized that we have two things in Sanibel Sea School that are important: return on mission and the ability to generate revenue from teaching classes. We have two things in Sanibel Sea School: the return on mission. And return on mission is giant to the board of Sanibel Sea School. We want to touch more people with ocean love. A return on investment is that we can generate more of our own revenue by teaching people who want to learn about the ocean. So we're trying to create systems by having a series of campuses that are in partnerships with resorts so that people can come, they can have a quality educational experience for their children while they're on vacation, and they will help support the overall mission of Sanibel Sea School. So right now, our campaign is to create a flagship headquarters here on the east end of Sanibel so that it can support satellite campuses in other parts of the world that will help us gain return on mission, see more people, and help us generate revenue that will support the programs that we have. Wow, ocean love. It's hard for me to figure out ocean love. And it's ocean love. I think one of the things, we're in a really strange business here. We are in the business of allowing people the opportunity to fall in love with the ocean. And we don't talk about, love is a four-lettered word in our society. We're all scared of love. But we end up recognizing that if we want kids to fall in love with the ocean, we have to love them. We have to love our kids. We have to show love to them. We have to be kind to them. And so one of the things that we're recognizing is that all humans have this extraordinary bond to the ocean. We're drawn to it. We want to walk up to it. And the vast majority of times when you go up to the ocean, you have this really strong desire to put your feet in it. It's not enough to get next to it. There is something in us, there is something in us, that component of humanity that draws us to the ocean. And for us, that's ocean love. It's something we want to harbor, we want to express, we want everyone to realize they have ocean love. And we all have it, and it's a wonderful thing to have, and what a great place to go and express your humanity as the ocean. I saw a really great video recently about this young elephant who had just been exposed to the ocean for the first time. And for 3 minutes, this elephant was just going crazy playing in the ocean. So as it turns out, elephants have ocean love. It's not just a human thing. Maybe it's all living things have ocean love. But there is an attraction to the ocean that's inexplicable. And it is a very, very strong force. Immediately, culturally, a lot of our kids come up and they have ocean love, but they've been taught to be afraid of it. And one of our goals is to get kids to get over their fear of the ocean and to recognize that there's nothing sinister, there's nothing inherently dangerous about the ocean, and the ocean isn't a place that you're likely to get harmed. It's driving to the ocean is where you get harmed. One of the reasons that we use surfboards to begin kids when they're 4 years old in the ocean is that it is the smallest vessel, the smallest boat that you can use to get into the ocean. And you can't separate yourself from the ocean. There's something to hold on to. You're not alone in the ocean, but your stomach is immersed in the ocean. So we put kids on surfboards just so that they begin to become totally immersed in the ocean. Originally, when we first started teaching kids about the ocean at Sanibel Sea School, we believed it was experiential education, that one has an experience and they learn something. But after doing this for several years, we recognized that that's really not what we're doing. We're doing transformative education. And what happens when you're placed into a foreign environment, the ocean, and you're really challenged, both intellectually and physically, and to the limits of your comfort, something happens and you become a different person. One of our goals is to take every one of our clients and push them outside of their bounds of comfort, to take them out of their comfort zone. The really interesting thing about 8-year-old kids is, or the really interesting thing about young kids is they kind of have two different zones, the comfort zone and the danger zone. The moment they step out of their comfort zone, they think they're in danger. Well, it's a big gray spectrum between those two, and our job is to move them out of their comfort zone, but not into the danger zone. When we, as humans, the experiences that humans value and cherish almost never come easily. The things we really enjoy is when it was really hard. So we take kids and we ask them to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. We throw them out of the boat and make them swim back home. We swim in deep water where we know there are sharks, and we acknowledge that we're swimming with sharks, but we're not going to come in harm's way. And when you empower a kid to be able to discover, when you empower a kid to use all parts of their brain and all parts of their body, something inside of them switches. A switch goes off, and they recognize that they are powerful. They're intellectual. They have a lot of capabilities that in many ways are overlooked in traditional educational settings. One of our goals is to allow everyone to look at the world in a slightly different place than you did when you came in. We don't all see ourselves as ocean inhabitants, but we are. If you live on this planet, you are an ocean inhabitant. This is an ocean planet. And just by that mere transformation of coming from a terrestrial urbanite to being an ocean inhabitant, it changes the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we think. It changes fundamentally who we are. It reminds us that we're full of ocean love. Sanibel Sea School has drastically transformed my life and the life of my family. We have made great familial and personal sacrifices to create Sanibel Sea School. And like someone who trains for a marathon, you make great sacrifice, and yet you, at the end of your training, yield huge gains. So we have made great sacrifice. We've also been greatly enriched by Sanibel Sea School. I came here to save the ocean. I was a marine conservation biologist. I came here to save the ocean. And I realized fairly quickly that our job was to save the people. And that watching kids grow over a period of time, sometimes it's minutes and sometimes it's years, is more rewarding than one can ever get. And we've made relationships, and we've made relationships with people and a community and an environment during the process of Sanibel Sea School that I would have never guessed would be as important to me as they are. Consumed by Sanibel Sea School. Not only Evelyn and my family and our children, but our larger family. It has become a part of who we are, which sometimes is a challenge, particularly for us to be able to tease ourselves back away from Sanibel Sea School. The riches that are associated with that entanglement are limitless. It's amazing to have. On Father's Day, I can't tell you how many Father's Day cards I get from kids. And in some ways, that's kind of a scary thing. Nobody tells you how to be a dad. You're making it up, and it's sometimes sort of scary to be a parent. Now, all of a sudden, I recognize I'm a parent to a large number of kids, and it makes you really stop and recognize the importance that individuals have as role models, whether you want to be or not. So the creation of Sanibel Sea School has significantly impacted every aspect of my life and our family's lives. Most immediately, Sanibel Sea School, and it seems kind of strange, but there are very few weeks that I'm not in the oceans at least 6 days a week. And I have a very intimate relationship with a community here in Sanibel, and a very intimate relationship with the ocean. And our children share that. And that has been a giant thing in all of our lives, is to be able to be intimately bound to something you do, to create something good. Sanibel Sea School, well, we won't say that I don't have to wear shoes to work, but that's good. I think we're finding through sociological studies and psychological studies that children need nature. And we, in fact, have coined a term. I'll start that again. I think it's fairly common from a lot of sociological and psychological studies that children need nature. There is a term that's been coined as nature deficit disorder. And they're finding this more and more commonly with kids who don't have an opportunity to find the quietude of nature. And to find the quietude of nature doesn't require that you find the vast, most desolate expanses of the Pacific Ocean. It just means that you have to be able to go somewhere. There's something about being in nature that flips a switch in your brain. It makes you different. You enter into this pseudo-meditative state. It changes who we are. One of the reasons that we want to provide Sanibel Sea School experiences to every kid possible, regardless of their economic background, is because immersion in nature, and in particular the ocean, gives us a form of relaxation that we can't find elsewhere. I think it's increasingly important that we unplug ourselves from electronics and we step out into nature and let it take over our brain for periods of times. We don't have to do it for weeks on end. It can only take 5 minutes. It only takes a few moments to step out and recharge our batteries. We're finding in science that small amounts of really beneficial brain functions are highly effective at maintaining health. And I think what we will find later on is that those people who can afford the opportunity to engage with the ocean live richer, more rewarding, more fulfilled lives. I think everybody does. We do these things that are called soul floats. And it's really hard for a kid at first, but we put life jackets on them. And the idea, these are soul float races. And this is a race where you can't use locomotion. And the ocean supports you. And you don't have to have on a life jacket. As long as you'll lie back and arch your back and open your hands and relax, you float. So we have these races, which are totally designed. Your participants have to have your eyes closed. You have to have your arms open and your legs open, and you can't use any locomotion. And our race is to see where we drift to. And kids don't necessarily get that it's a metaphor, but that's okay, because they close their eyes, they're engaged in a passive race, which is a really cool thing for kids to recognize, that ultimately, when we finally open our eyes, they're always surprised how far we've gone, which is a really cool thing, because we're telling them, you can't move at all, you can't move at all, let the ocean take over, let yourself drift. And they close their eyes, and we can keep their eyes closed for 5 or 10 minutes sometimes, and then we wake up and we realize that the ocean has moved us forward. And it's such a fantastic thing for kids. One of the things that we do on a daily basis with kids is we do breathing exercises in the summertime. And we ask them to listen to the sound of their breath. And immediately when you ask a kid to listen to the sound of their breath, they start breathing loudly. And we have to go back and say, no, 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 this is a listening exercise. You are making noise already. We're asking you to listen to the noise that you always make. And it changes the way that they view themselves. It quiets them down. It allows them to meditate for a few moments. We don't use scuba diving for learning as a technique in Sanibel Sea School, ever. And it's an institutional decision. When you free dive in the ocean, something magical happens. And the secret to free diving in the ocean is to relax. It's about conservation of oxygen. And conservation of oxygen is about relaxation. So what we're really, in many ways, when we're working with teenagers, we spend a lot of time telling them to have on a mask and snorkel, open their arms, lie face down, look at the bottom, breathe nice and slow and deeply. Don't hyperventilate, don't take in giant breaths. Listen to the sound of your breath, and then very calmly go to the bottom. And we want them to relax in the ocean. When you put on scuba diving gear, everybody's blood pressure goes up. You have all this heavy stuff you have on. You have analytical things that you have to do because you have a dashboard, you have gauges. So you have to shift your mind to that right brain function. When we're teaching them to free dive, we want them to find the soul of the ocean. We want them to experience the soul of the ocean. And of course, the soul of the ocean lives in us. The ocean doesn't have a soul. We have the soul. And so it's this amazing thing to get kids into water that's much deeper than they are. Many times in our programs with our teenagers, we take kids and we put them in 400 or 4,000 feet of water with a snorkel on. And to look down into the vast expanse of nothingness into the ocean is a transformative thing. You realize sort of your scale and your size. There are these beautiful shafts of light that go down into nowhere. And it really does, it is almost the single most transformative thing we witness at Sanibel Sea School, is to take a young kid and put them in a bottomless ocean. And for a brief moment, they realize there's a different world out there. We sometimes have the ability to snorkel with these guys, with fish that are pelagic fish. And when you snorkel with a school of mahi, and then you come back up and you have a discussion about it, and you recognize mahi have never seen dirt. There is no bottom for them. They can reach it, but why would they ever go there? They don't go there. They stay up in a world where there's nothing but water. There's water and there's air. There's no dirt. And there's something magical that happens when you tell a kid there's a world on our planet where there's no earth, there's no dirt, it's all water. That it opens their minds to this new world of things. We'd have to edit this, but you know, it's short of giving them good drugs. It's like, whoa, it takes the top of their head off. Like, wow, this is so great for these guys. So it's totally cool. I think the ocean is critical for our survival. And it's critical in two ways. Ecosystem service, it's where we get all our oxygen, it's where we get most of our food. So it's critical from just a sustenance component of how our body works. However, I think it's really critical for the psyche of humans. I think we need to know that there is a wild place. We need to know that there is a place that's untamed. We need to know that there is hope. And I think in many ways, that's what we get. We walk up to the ocean and we see limitless possibilities. We see the far off horizon. And when we go to the ocean, almost none of us ever look down at our feet. We look to where we can't see anymore. We look to the very farthest that we can possibly see. And there's something that frees us from the mundanities of what we're doing, because we look into infinity and beyond, as it turns out. We really look to that horizon to realize, wow, what I'm caught up in and what I'm doing isn't so important. It's just a part of me. And there's something larger than me out there. So the fact that whether or not humans have souls, I don't know. I do know that humans have some connection to the ocean, and everybody feels it. And I've never yet met a person that says, oh, I don't like that. We have these kids who have we have kids who have a strong aversion to things on their skin. They don't like the way clothes feel. They don't like the way sand feels. They don't like the way salt water feels. But it's impossible to keep these guys out of the ocean. It is a terribly uncomfortable environment for them physically in the way that their stimuli works with their skin. But we can't keep them out of the ocean. They grab counselors' long hair and dry their eyes and wipe salt out of their eyes so that they can stay in longer. Even those people who have physical aversions to the ocean are drawn to it. And it's just that magical component. Wow. If I could have gone to Sanibel Sea School as a child, I would have never gone back to normal school. I would have been one of those kids that I didn't like normal school anyway. And if I had had the opportunity to truly go in with a bunch of guys and just explore the ocean, I think I would have liked stomping around in the muck and the mud. That to me is Southwest Florida. There's something very visceral about the smell of a mangrove. There's something that reaches in and touches you. I also, at that point, was drawn to fish as a child. I love fish. I'm one of those weird guys I was looking at last night. I grew up in South Florida, and instead of a lemonade stand, I had a tadpole stand. And I still have the sign that says tadpoles for sale, 5 cents for 5 tadpoles. And I don't think I sold many tadpoles, by the way. I think I had a couple of Mercy sales. But I think if I had the ability to recognize, if I had the opportunity as a child to go to Sanibel Sea School, I would have more readily recognized that the way in which I was different from the rest of the kids in my class was okay. That there was value to the way that I was different, because I was different. I didn't conform to the molds of education, and we see these kids coming in here day after day after day, and their parents apologize for them when they come in the door. They say, little Johnny's not going to be well behaved, or he has a real challenge, or she has a real challenge in school, and these guys are our model kids. They need to be unleashed. They need to learn in a different context, and it's not being done in their traditional educational settings. So Sanibel Sea School is a place where we really honor different ways of learning and different ways of being. What, in many ways, we really want kids to learn about is their inner strength. What is it that they have that makes them highly valuable? It's hard in this day and age for everyone to be highly valuable. We live in competitive societies, and there is a small set of human traits that we think are really, really great. But I think as adults, we all know that's ridiculous. And the diversity is what we like. But somehow, through the way we communicate, through the way our kids perceive the world, they think they should all be the same. And when they're not making the mark, when they're not making the grade that they should, they're failing the system. They don't recognize that the system's failing them and that there's an enormous amount of diversity. So in many ways, Sanibel Sea School is truly saving the ocean one person at a time, one kid at a time, telling them you have enormous value. We have one rule at Sanibel Sea School, truly one rule. We try to be an institution, a yes institution. We created that years ago, so that we're a yes institution. When you're running around riding herd on a bunch of 8-year-olds all day long, at the end of the day, if you hear a recording of yourself, you're saying, no, you can't do that. No, 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 no. And we heard that in ourselves, and we thought, this is crazy. We should be saying yes, 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 yes. So we are a yes institution. Each day, we have one rule. And our one rule is you have to be nice to the people in this building. You have to be nice. And if you really think about all the rules on this planet, virtually all of them go away if you're nice to one another. And kids get that. You have to be nice. It's not a moral thing. They totally understand nice from not nice. Sometimes there's some gray issues, but they understand the feeling of kindness and how to give it and how to receive it. And when you're not receiving it, you know it inherently. And so we have 3 goals each day. We want to be safe, number 1. Number 2, we want to have more fun than we've had in any time that we can remember. And number 3, we'd like to learn something small about the ocean. 3 goals, 1 rule. 1 rule, be nice to the people around you. And kids get it. And then let's be crazy. Crazy nice. Nice and crazy. Whatever it is, let's be nice and let's learn a little bit. You know, I'm surprised at how strongly kids crave what we do here, how much they enjoy it. I'm surprised at how much ownership kids have in an institution. It's always been our goal to create an institution that's owned by a bunch of kids. And for a long time, I thought it was just the corporate speak, that we're an institution for these kids. We're an institution for these kids. We at one point explored the possibility of moving out of this wonderful, beautiful old building. And our kids went ballistic. They said, "You can't do that. That's our school. This is ours." They said, "Well, if we go somewhere else, where will our school be?" And we said, "Well, somebody else will have it." They said, "Well, nobody can have it." And they owned it. 30 kids revolted at simultaneously, unsolicited, it's theirs. And it's something that they're creating friendships in. It's something they're crying in, someplace they're laughing in, someplace they're just free to be who they are. And so they have a very, very strong sense of community here. One of the hardest things, I don't know if you're gonna ask me that, but I'm gonna tell you. We've seen some incredibly scary things. I've seen some incredibly scary things here. And they all relate to weather and to kids' safety. And I have had to look in the eyes of people I care about deeply who worked for us, and in the eye of a terrible storm told them, "I will come back and get you." And I wasn't entirely sure I could come back and get these kids. And they were horrified. They were scared. They were really, really scared. And we had to pull the clients out of the water and put them in the safety of a boat. But we knew we didn't have room for the people that worked for us. And we had to leave them. And it's an amazing transformation to look at this very capable, competent teenager who's working hard to keep people safe. And they recognize in a very calm way that this may be the day they die. And it probably wasn't and isn't that bad, but it certainly seemed like it. And to say, "You're going to be okay, I'll be back and get you. Hold on to that boat, don't let go of that boat." And in reality, not truly believe that I'll be able to get back and get you is this scary, scary thing. We're here, the sea is in many ways unforgiving, the weather is unforgiving, and we're trying to push the limit. And we do a very good job, but sometimes you get surprised. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere. And the very best of planning doesn't help you avoid bad circumstances. Training helps us deal with bad circumstances. And fortunately, we've been very lucky. We train our people well. They understand well the consequences of what we're doing. But one of the things that we have to tell kids, and it's a funny, funny lesson, we have to tell kids the ocean doesn't love you. You love the ocean. You have ocean love. But the ocean will harm you. Not maliciously, but the ocean is indifferent. And waves will harm you. And storms, you can be harmed in them. So we can't let kids believe that we love the ocean and the ocean loves us, because it would be wrong. We have to tell kids there's something inherently about us that loves the ocean, but it's not reciprocated. And that may be why we love the ocean, is because we're always striving to see if it will love us. And we go to these wonderful scenes, and I've experienced some amazing things in the ocean. I had an experience that sort of changed my entire life. And we all have had these. We have life before this point and life after this point. And it happened in a boat right out in San Carlos Bay, where I was sitting watching a dolphin, and this young dolphin swam up to me as I was seeing this boat and rolled over and presented its chest to me. And I reached down and touched this dolphin, and it just hung there. And it just hung there. And it makes the hair on the back of my head stand up now. It's like a lightning bolt opened through the sky. And you just had this jolt of electricity. There is this contact with the creatures that we share the planet with that is electrifying. And our kids find that in different ways. Sometimes it's with a dolphin, sometimes it's with a hermit crab. Many times in our world, it's with this fantastic creature called a sea hare. And all of a sudden, this creature's crawling in the palm of your hand, and it changes who you are. It changes the world you live in. So one of the things that we are extraordinarily careful about is the safety of our kids. Many of us have kids in this program, and many of us recognize that at the end of the day, it has to be about safety. We can't let the fear drive us, but we can work to keep ourselves extraordinarily safe in an environment that's not inherently safe. You know, one of the things that being a philanthropic organization is interesting and changing. We like to not necessarily think of our supporters as donors. We really think of our supporters as partners and investors. And we want people to recognize when we tend to give something away, as in donation, we think that it's gone and that we just got rid of something. But I think what we recognize is that we're creating an institution that's a public charity. It belongs to everyone. And there are giant returns on this. The way that kids' lives are changed is measurable. It's significant, it's substantive. And so by becoming a partner with Sanibel C School through a charitable support donation is really an investment. It's an investment in the future of humanity. It's an investment in the future of our culture here locally. And in a broader sense, it really is an investment in a future generation of people who will inhabit this planet and this community. So we really strive to create partnerships. We don't call our donors donors, we call them partners or investors. And the thing that I would most like every supporter of Sanibel C School to recognize is you didn't give your money to an institution, you're creating an institution. And you own it, it is yours, just like it's everyone's. So all of us, all of the people that work at Sanibel C School make charitable donations to the institution. All of the Board of Trustees make charitable donations to the institution. We're 100% behind what we do. But what we really want to recognize is that when you donate to Sanibel C School, when you're trying to create a sustainable Sanibel C School, you're investing in the future of our humanity. We're investing in the future of the ocean, one person at a time. So we're truly trying to create a world that has people more in tune to themselves because of an experience with nature and the ocean specifically. We love donors. Very early on, we recognized that early on in the development of Sanibel C School, we realized that a large portion of our clientele will be future decision makers. They are fairly affluent people who come from backgrounds that will, in all likelihood, land them into the role of decision makers who will help us protect the ocean's future through decision making. Very quickly, we realized that we need to allow all people access to the ocean. And we are very close to a lot of people who don't have access to the ocean. So we created a program, and we call it the Landlocked Kids program. We really got tired of calling kids underprivileged kids. There's something negative about being underprivileged. They're very privileged. They're privileged in many different ways, and they're talented and they're capable. They're just landlocked. They don't have the ability to come to the ocean. So we've created this program of landlocked kids. And we go into Fort Myers, into North Fort Myers, into a variety of places, and we bring kids to the ocean. And we sometimes go into their classroom, and then sometimes we bring them to our classroom, the ocean. And to take kids who live 10 miles from the ocean and show them the ocean for really the first time is breathtaking. It's amazing to watch the toughest, hardened teenage gang member step onto a surfboard and be scared silly. it changes the whole dynamic of the whole classroom. You can watch kids who are marginalized in these situations, and in many situations being marginalized isn't very good. It's not very subtle. These are highly marginalized individuals. As it turns out, sometimes they're very good in the water, whereas the more influential member of their cohort is petrified of the water. And so the roles reverse. And to be able to take young people who would otherwise not have an opportunity to see the ocean does a couple of things. It changes who they are. It changes who they believe they can be. It also locally gives them a realization that there's an enormous economic potential in an area they never thought about. There is a large labor force out here who's involved with some ocean-related industry. And ocean-related industries hire a lot of people. If these people don't realize that there's an ocean-related industry out there, it only decreases their ability to fend for themselves, to earn a living. And so we really believe that all humans should experience the ocean love, and that it's imperative for people who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to be able to cross that $6 bridge and come and see the ocean and feel the ocean and experience the ocean. And it should be that ocean love is an intangible right. But practically it's not. It takes infrastructure to move these kids to the ocean. And so we are absolutely dedicated to this. We often do this in an unfunded way. We have the buses, we have the facilities, we make the time. Many of our staff see landlocked kids on Saturdays on their day off because it's the only day we can get landlocked kids out of school to get here. So our staff are willing to work their days off to see these kids who would not otherwise see the ocean. We're blessed with a beautiful group of people that work for us who believe in this mission of saving the ocean one person at a time. We always recognized that eventually we would serve people who didn't have the ability to come to the ocean. We discovered it on accident one day, and it so happened that Evelyn and I were on Fowler Street. Evelyn and I were on Fowler Street taking a bus to an air conditioner repair person. We go into a place to get a drink, and this woman goes, "Oh, Sanibel Sea School, what's that?" And so we explain her. She goes, "Oh, cool, I have these kids, and I totally would like to get them to the ocean, but I never have." And we were dumbfounded because we're 11 miles from the ocean. Here's this woman who's got her kids, and they've never been to the ocean. And immediately we said, we can change that. We can change that. The two of us, we can really change this. This is not some possible goal, but we can do this. We have a bus, we have an institution, we have teachers. So we immediately went to the Pace Center for Girls, court-mandated school, charter school in Fort Myers. And we said, gee, could we bring your girls to the ocean? And it's pretty amazing stuff when you take a young child. I'm gonna do that again. It's pretty amazing stuff when you take a challenged teenager and show them the ocean for the first time. On any given day, I'm not sure who's getting more out of it, our staff or the kids who are experiencing the ocean. And so we are dedicated to bringing as many kids as we possibly can the opportunity to experience the emotional benefits of the ocean. We believe that experiencing the emotional benefits of the ocean will make them better people, and we believe it will lead them to fuller lives. And we believe that everyone ought to go into the ocean and have that opportunity to do so. If I were a sea creature, of course, well, people often ask me if I were a sea creature, which one would I be? And immediately my answer is some big, fast-moving fish. But then when I really contemplate, that's not what I'd be. I think I'd probably be a crab or some invertebrate on a coral reef that could crawl around this amazing three-dimensional structure and look at it. I don't even think I'd want to be a fish. I think I'd want to be able to crawl on the outside, on the inside, hover above it, and be able to see it all. But it definitely would be an animal without a backbone, which is strange because so many times that doesn't seem like a desirable lot in life, to be an animal without a backbone, a lowly invertebrate. But I think the perspective of being able to climb on some of the most majestic biological mountains in the world would be so rockin' cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it'd be totally cool. Slither around and crawl around. And some crabs, can swim. So you could swim above and look down from below, and then you could hover back down and walk around, do stuff.
And if a bird tried to grab you and flew you up and then realized it couldn't eat you and then just dropped you back in the ocean, you'd have a little flight time.
Preferably in the ocean on a dock or something. Seagulls have gotten really smart. Seagulls are very smart birds. And they've realized that they can drop clams on docks and they'll open. So in many places where you go where there are a lot of seagulls and there are a lot of clams, you go out to a dock and it's totally littered with broken clams. And so seagulls have culturally in the last couple of hundred years learned that dock structures made by humans great clam opening places, which is really cool when you think about it.
What a great little short story. The first seagull that discovered how to open a clam.
Isn't that great?
Wasn't that a great short story?
And they're the Japanese macaques, the Japanese primates who hang out in hot tubs. And they realized that 120, 130 years ago, nobody ever observed that. And one day, some monkey walked up there and stuck his toe in, and then there was this cultural learning. Because the coolest thing isn't that one seagull figured out that, if I happen to drop my clam on a dock, it opens and it's easy. The cool thing is that the second one saw it and mimicked it and went, oh, what a great idea. And then all of a sudden it's caught fire. So, animals are pretty amazing. We want to underestimate their intuition and their capabilities, but they're pretty cool creatures as it turns out there. I don't know what a crab thinks, but I bet they don't have many ulcers. I think for many people that you get to this point, and particularly for young kids, it's really cool because they are very open to this. And it becomes a genesis. It's like, it's a restart. I'm starting again. I am a new human. And there's something about the ocean. When you go out and you at least recognize that it's an important psychological stimulant, every time you come out of it, it's a new world. It's like, wow, a rebirth that happens. Evelyn came up with this fantastic thing that we do at Sanibel Sea School on the first day of the year during our holiday camps. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we just told all these kids, because kids have problems, but nobody listens to them. Nobody acknowledges that they're real, because they're not as real as my problems. They're not about money and they're not about getting fired. You got a problem because you're not fitting in. Well, that's a giant problem for a 7-year-old, but they're not our problems, so we trivialize them. And so we said, you know what, guys? We're going to give all of our troubles to the ocean today. We're going to give you a sheet of paper, and we want you to sit down and write what your problems were this year. Not what you promised to do next year, but what were your problems this year? Kids took this really seriously, and they continue to take it really seriously. It became this giant institutional tradition. And we take their little slip of paper, we build a small fire, they burn their problems, we burn them down to a very small amount of ashes, and then we proudly walk down to the sea, and everybody takes a fingerful of ashes and they give it to the ocean. And it's amazing to watch these kids because they're taking it seriously. And all of a sudden, then we just go out and we play in the ocean. It's freezing cold in there because it's the first day of January, but we frolic and we play, and we're starting this life, this new day, this new year without any of these problems from before. And boy, these kids take it really seriously. And so they come back out and here's my new life. Today's my new day. And if we could all do that in either a spiritual or a real way, the world would be a better place. We'd be better. We'd be much more productive. We'd be better humans. And so in many ways, it's kind of, Sanibel Sea School is about taking the lessons from the ocean inland into your life every day. Much like the challenge in many yoga practices is, how do you move the yoga off the mat? How do you take the yoga to the business? How do you take the yoga to the grocery store? Ours is, how do you take the ocean love inland? How do you keep that until you come back again to renew it?